Hi, welcome to Drinking with Comics, special Thanksgiving Day edition. I'm Shawn, and with me, my co-host for today, Mike Shinabargar. What's up, Mike?
Hello. Hi.
So, Mike runs the amazing fantasy books and comics that I've been going to. Man, you've been there for a long time. Not to age us both out here, but I've
Yeah,
known I've known you for
I've
quite
been
some time.
assistant manager there for a long time, yes.
So, my favorite store. I mean, you guys in the comic book are comic. You guys in the comic book are neck and neck. So, but I love your fucking store, man. I love the Frankfurt store.
Thanks. I think
And
we get like 1 inch more neck.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely now because I can't go to the comic book. I mean when I go to LA I go, but anyway, we're not here to talk about comic shops. Well, yeah, I guess we kind of are.
Yeah.
Mike, so for as an addendum to my new comic book day video that went up a little while ago, you asked me to read something only the Mikes, only you and Mike Wellman can get me to read DC stuff. You asked me to read Batman Off-World, and I did.
Yes.
So this is Jason Aaron. So I'm assuming now that it seems like his big Avengers run that lasted for years and years, which I didn't read, and I've heard a lot of people complain about. I don't know anything about it other than at some point there were like 9 people with the Phoenix Force, which is dumb. But now that like same with Bendis wrote major titles for Marvel for over a
Yeah.
decade, and as soon as his run ended, he moved to DC, right? And it's obviously what's going to happen. So this seems like the first book that Aaron's now writing. Does that sound like an accurate assessment from your insider?
Yeah, I did a little look into his history other than Scalped that he wrote years ago for Vertigo and one-off Batman like one-shots. Not like one-shots, but like Arkham Asylum short stories. He did those like 2 or 3 of them, but this is like his first like major DC character, definitely major Batman miniseries. I guess it's only like 8 issues or something um, that he did. So that's a big deal.
I'm happy that like he didn't just go to become the new regular writer on like Batman or Superman or whatever. Like this is, I gotta say, man, I liked it.
Yeah, it was interesting. I thought it was a neat idea of like exploring Batman dealing with aliens for the first time, mainly because I don't know. We going spoilers on this thing?
I don't want to go spoilers, but so okay, I need clarification from you, and I think then
Okay.
this will help the listeners as well, the viewers. In my mind, they reference this as like the first time he's been off world, and I'm thinking, no, it's not. But then also in this issue, he references with his narration like it's been a year since since his parents died and he became Batman. And I was like, wow, they've really fucking compressed the timeline.
I thought it was a year in space or something like that.
No, he said it's been a year since since I sat on my knees in blood and decided to become, however he said it. So I'm like, there's always compression in comics, right? Like when House and Powers happened in X-Men, they referenced that all of the continuity at that point had been a decade. Fine, I'm okay with
Yeah.
that, right? Uh, but I was like a year, and then also like, so are we not? I mean, I know he's been in space before because even just like going back to Grant Morrison and Howard Porter's JLA run in the late '90s, the whole fucking thing, or a lot of it, takes place on Apocalypse and whatnot. So,
Well, I mean, like,
is this like
okay,
an
clearly,
Elseworld?
I think this is an early on Batman career. Maybe like a year 2, year 3 thing if we're going with that idea. Um, Shoot, I wish I should have read it twice. I guess just to double
So,
check everything.
like, did you get the sense that this is? I mean, and this is obviously in vogue now. You can go back and tell a story. You can say, well,
I always kind of
the continuity for the characters here, but let's go back and sandwich this series in back then, right? Or is this Elseworlds? It
yeah.
doesn't say Elseworlds.
It's not Elseworlds. I think it's just like a Batman story told because Batman's been around for close to we're heading close to 100 years now. What, 75, 80?
Right.
Yeah. Um So, you can't really just he can be anything and anywhere where he has no continuity.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
just a character you pick up and you go, I'm reading a story when he was 10, I'm reading a story when he's
yeah.
30, I'm reading and then there's the ongoing stuff obviously that's been going on for years. But stuff like this, you just go, oh, okay, so it's year one. He's 45
Okay.
years old or 30 years old or 20 years old, and you just roll with it. This is the first story. There's several books. The first time he meets a vampire,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
deals with monsters, where it's just like, wait a minute, supernatural stuff's real. I gotta adjust. And I like that this is very much like him, you know, being in space for the first time, going, I gotta adjust. I didn't quite get like if he even knows Superman or not yet. Because I was kind of curious. Like when I first read it, I was like, is he going in there looking for Clark Kent? But is he? I guess he doesn't even know who Clark Kent is yet now.
Well, they haven't explicitly said that, but I mean, it is. I don't know. I guess the reason why I'm fumbling with this a little bit, and then what you said makes perfect sense about you can pick any era of Batman and tell a story. So, okay, I'm
Yeah,
okay with. So we're gonna say this is the first year. This is like a year one or a year two story. Um, I like the fact that, like you said, he has to like the narration imply, like he's like, I I don't know how to jump because the gravity's off. The batarangs are the weight is off, so it doesn't
yeah.
throw the way I'm used to. I almost hit my head on the rafters on the way out the door. Um,
Artificial gravity feels like normal
yes,
gravity, heavier than normal gravity, yet not like normal gravity, like it's light at the
yes,
same time. Yeah, I like the whole. I loved everything about that, like his inner narrations of like, well, here's this alien. How do I stop him? What's his pressure points? Well, he's got a face.
yes. And so the thing that hooked me right away, and this is just kind of in context with a lot of this, like I've been talking about sci-fi recently because of um just the Beta Ray Bill stays in my mind. This reminds me a little bit of that, but then also like, I did something where I talked about I picked up some issues of Dread Star when I was in town at your shop from the 80s and like this whole hobby store sci-fi aesthetic that I really dig. And this kind of has that. But I love this opening where the two you think they're like rescuers or whatever. And this isn't really a spoiler, but I just love the scene where they pop their masks open and you see their actual faces for the first time. That was
Oh
a great
yeah,
that's great. Like that was really,
like they're
really
not
great.
human in any way.
Yeah.
Um, and I like that. Like I don't know any of these aliens other than the Tamarian. I think I'm pronouncing it right, Tamarian, which is like Starfire's race from Teen
I
Titans.
thought so. Okay,
That's what
okay.
the chick is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, Ion or something like that. I can't remember. I'm gonna start taking notes.
A fellow prisoner.
Yeah, fellow prisoner. Yeah, so it's kind of fun. Like there's a familiar kind of at face in this, if you will. I also like the vibe that like going back to that like alien vibe of you're relating it to Beta Ray Bill, but I was getting like Guardians of the Galaxy
Yeah, there's that
space
definitely.
movie type thing, not even like a Marvel thing, but just like a space movie, almost from like the '80s. Like here's a bunch of aliens.
Yep.
We don't know their
Yeah.
deal, but it's all dirty and grungy. Um, and you're just kind of thrown in the middle of it all. And I like that because that's how Batman is. He just purposely threw himself in the middle of all this stuff.
Yeah, and so therein lies what I would consider the Godsey for the book. I really like the way the story unfolds because it cold opens. He's on this ship. It's boarded by pirates, and he ends up becoming there after he fights some of them off. He gets bested, and he ends up in this like prison pen or whatever. And he's studying, and he's learning how these things fight because they have a large physical and power like strength advantage over him.
Yeah.
But I really like the fact that like you have no idea why there is a reason he's put himself here. He says, I paid $532 million for a spaceship for the guise of my company starting a commercial air, so like a la
Yeah.
like Branson or Musk or whatever, right? Uh, but that's not what he used it for. He used it to get out to this slag galaxy. And then you get this flashback where I don't want to say specifically what the flashback is, but it really didn't answer any questions for me. It just created more. I was like, okay, so now I'm really interested where this is going. So you sold the book, man. First DC
Yeah,
book I've
I
bought in a
think.
while, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, I'll sell you a couple more too.
Ah, you
But
bastard.
so yeah, I like the fact that there's like this alien shows up in the past, or in Gotham is just like, I have to deal with this now, and this book's just basically him training. That's the story.
Yeah.
It's like it's Batman Begins in space.
Yeah, that's a good way to
Yeah,
really I that's a great way to summarize it for the
yeah.
viewers. That's what it is.
It's I don't think it's like a super like story about like, oh, there's gonna be like Dark Side shows up and they
No.
are like college roommates in space or anything weird like that. It's just,
I'd probably read that book just
I
to
would
see what it
too. But it's, it's just Batman doing what Batman does. Is like, I have a problem. I have to learn how to fix it.
I'm just
And I
picturing
dig
that.
that.
I'm picturing that where like I'm picturing Darkseid being like, I told you, when the sock is on the doorknob, you don't come into the room. Uh
I feel like that'd be Batman. He's the
yeah,
playboy,
either way,
remember?
I don't know.
Darkseid's
Either,
walking
either
in with his like dirty glasses and a book on like, I'm gonna get this anti-life equation down. It
there you
kills me.
go.
All night
There you
studying.
fucking go.
And Batman's just like, well, that's cool. I got Selena coming at 12. Talia's coming at 9. I need you to cover for me.
There you go. Wow, dude, it
Here's
writes
some
itself.
money.
So that's Batman Off-World #1. It is available. It came out yesterday,
Yeah,
11/22/23. And miniseries. We're both recommending it. I just want to talk one more book, and that's I want you to pitch
sure.
me because so Mike told me to read Justice League versus King Kong versus Godzilla. Is that correct that that's the title?
Yes.
I'm not a huge Godzilla or Kong fan. I will be going to see -1, and I do want to watch Legacy, even though I couldn't sit through those. The last cycle of Godzilla movies I tried with King of Monsters, and when an hour in there were no monsters, I was like, okay, well, if I wanted to see the Stranger Things chick, I would just watch Stranger Things. So
Yeah, you're already turning yourself off on this book. The reason why I wanted you to read it, which is it is one of the better DC books that I've read in years. It is one of the main story plots is Superman is proposing to Lois Lane. So this is a universe where Superman has not married Lois Lane yet. It's pretty much in the first page. He's sitting there, yeah, first page. He's like gets on his hand, he gets on his knees and proposes to her on top of the Daily Planet. And then Godzilla shows up in the second page, and Superman has to go and see him. The rest of the issue is Superman dealing with the fact that like, should he ask Lois Lane to marry him? That's the crux of the first issue. It's just like, do I marry Lois Lane? Is this smart for me to put her in a situation where I'm the strongest superhero in the world, and people are always gunning for me? So there's a lot of like, it's just a really good DC story about like the characters in the DC universe.
okay.
And Godzilla doesn't show up for the rest of the book till the very last panel. So he's in the second panel and the last panel. But the rest of the book is like this really solid, good story about like, Superman talking to like the Justice League, like, hey, I'm gonna ask Lois Lane to marry me. Is that like really a good idea? Bruce, what do you think? Green Lantern, what do you think?
So what I'm taking from this now, to me, and I have a feeling I'll eat my words. When you say, okay, read JLA versus Godzilla versus Kong, and you say it opens with Superman proposing to Lois Lane on top of the Daily Planet, and then the second page is Godzilla, and then Godzilla's not in it again until the last page. To me, the first thing I think is like, fail. I just
Yeah,
feel like
I
what's
I
on the
thought that
cover in
too.
big bold font is not there. Now,
So like, I picked up this book to read like because I want to see Batman and a giant robot punching Godzilla.
this sounds like
That
Godzilla
was
King of
my soul.
Monsters. where it was all
Yes,
about the humans and not the monsters. Like,
exactly. But it was a good DC story where it's like,
okay.
like all these characters that are setting up the universe. It's a good setup for like the DC universe. Everyone, there's a good chunk of all the heroes and villains that we like in it. And there's a point where Gorilla Grodd and the other villains end up at Skull Island,
Hmm.
where King Kong lives, and it's just this one panel of Gorilla Grodd just like, I am going to take over this monkey's mind. And I don't know where that's going. It's not revealed in issue 2 yet. But,
Interesting.
you know, yeah, it's just like Gorilla Grodd and that. And I like issue 2 opens up, obviously he's fighting Godzilla in issue 2. And it's Superman just kind of goes up to Superman, Godzilla is like, hey, I don't know if you can understand me, but I can't have you right around my city. It's Superman way. Like that's what you expect Superman to do. Like he goes up to a thing, he tries to resolve it with peace,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then Godzilla's just like atomic breath, and then Superman punches him. And I didn't realize how much I needed to see Superman punch Godzilla.
Well, oh, I mean that.
Because
So at least they're delivering in the second issue. Then I'll read this. I'll definitely give this a shot. So there's 2 issues out. The second one came out yesterday, so I'll read
second one came
both.
out yesterday. You get a little more Godzilla in that. You get a lot more Godzilla in
Okay.
that. And some Batman shows up, and I'm intrigued by it. It just
How many issues is this going to be?
I think 6 or 8.
Okay. Well, okay. So we'll be back with more drinking with comics, but until then, enjoy your turkey.